Hey everyone, Jay Carragay here, and wanted to talk to you this time about the Clever. So we received a question from one of our viewers, Mark T, about can the Clever, this device, can it approximate the cupping experience? Can the Clever do the cupping? We're going to find out. Okay, everyone, so we've got our Clever. This is the Abid Clever brewer from Abid. And it's a polymer plastic type of brewer that has a conical shape, as you can see. It is what we consider a hybrid brewer. Hybrid because you're going to use it, well, first of all, let's go back. So it's a conical shaped polymer plastic brewer with a one-way valve at the bottom of the cup. At the bottom of the device, so that when you sit the Clever on top of your cup, it opens the valve and the coffee flows through. Prior to that, the water and the coffee just sit there mingling. So it's kind of well, we call it a hybrid because it is basically you get the immersion of a French press, but the filtration of a pour over, and so that's what we call a hybrid. Now, what else is there to say about it? It's relatively a simple device. We've been using them at the shop for 10 years now. They're really handy. They're really great. They're really easy to use. And it's polymer plastic, so it's really kind of unbreakable. You really have to beat the heck out of it in order to break it. So if you want to travel with it, it's easy. Just toss it in your bag, stuff some socks into it, and you should be good to go. But the real question today is, how does it compare to the cupping experience? So let's find out. All right. Much easier this way. So what we're going to do is we're going to take our cups. We got these cups here. We've got our scale, grinder, the whole deal. Filters, whatever we need, timer, and we've got our coffee. So today's coffee is the Perla Negra. The Perla Negra is actually a really interesting coffee. It's a coffee that we discovered, back, must have been 2015, 2014. We were at one of our growers in Nicaragua, the Mirish family, and Eliane said to me, hey, I put this sample on the end of the table. It's just a test that we're running. Would you just give us your feedback? And so I tasted it, and man, it was just amazing, and it had this really beautiful milky sweetness, and as it cooled, it just intensified and became really beautiful. And they use malolactic fermentation, so it's an anaerobic kind of fermentation where they wrap the coffee in rubber bladders. And I asked them, hey, can you make this for us every year? And they do. So we actually have this produced specifically for our iced coffee cold brew program, and then we roast it up here at the roastery. And so our normal cupping standard is 13 grams for this 9-ounce cup. We're going to use that in the Clever just to mimic it closely. So we're going to do 13 grams. 13 grams. So we use our first 13 grams as our control in the cupping cup. And the next one we're going to do for our Clever. For the Clever, we're going to use the basic number 4 Melita style filter. And you're probably familiar with this. It's just a folded material pressed over together. But it doesn't quite fit very well in the Clever. So what we have to do is, if you can see where the seams are here on the two sides, we actually will fold that over as such so that it will seat properly in the Clever. Then we're going to use some hot water, and we're going to rinse out the paper filter. You just want to rinse it out just to get any kind of maybe off flavors or anything out of it. All right, that's perfect. Next, we're going to take our coffee, put it inside the Clever. Level it out. We'll level this one out too. We're going to gather our hot water. We're going to add hot water to the Clever. We're going to put 8 ounces. And starting our timer at the same time. We're just going to add it all at once. Very similar to how we would do it in a cupping setup. And then we're going to start our cupping control at the same time. All right. Now in the Clever, they also give you this lid. But since we're trying to compare the two, I'm not going to use the lid. We're going to set that aside and just let it do its thing. So when we're cupping the coffee, what we want to do is we normally will smell the coffee as it's wet. So just like it is here. And just to get some of the aromatics. This one has a real creamy nose. Kind of like milk chocolate. Heavy cream. Really pleasant. Maybe a slight nuttiness to it, but not really. I would say it's definitely more creamy. Definitely more milk chocolate. The plan for this is to take at the 4-minute mark, which is the amount of time that we're leaving the coffee to steep in a cupping situation or a brewing situation. We'll then put the Clever on top of the cup and let that flow through. So we're about halfway there now, 2 more minutes. When it comes to the Clever, I really like it as a brewing device. It's relatively simple to use, easy to clean up. You basically just kind of give it a hook toss, and the whole filter and used coffee comes out, and you could dump it straight into the trash and give it a quick rinse and put it away. All right, we've got 4 minutes, so let's do that. We're going to take our Clever and put it on top of that and just let it flow out. Meanwhile, I'm just going to slide that over so that we can get down into this. As we talked in the last video, after 4 minutes, it's time to break the crust. So you're going to use your cupping spoon, this spoon, to break the crust as you inhale deeply. So that's what we're going to do here. Oh, man, there's that. It's got this really, there's this character to this coffee that I've always found to be interesting and kind of funky, where it's got this, I have a particular olfactory response, and I don't really know what it is, but it's got this kind of creamy funk to it, like a blue cheesy funk that I've always liked. But it's not too heavy in the blue cheese, real toned down. But when you smell it, like on that, like when I smell it on the break, I kind of get that again. Okay, so as you can see, with the Clever, you just pull it off. Now we're done. And this, I can just toss it. Like that. I said then you just have to rinse it, right? Rinse a little bit, dump, and you're good to go. You can put that away, and everything is great. But now, for the cupping, we have to clear out all of the scum and the coffee on that may be floating left. That may be left floating. All right, that's pretty much it. We'll rinse that out. All right, so we've got our normal cupping style cup here, and which is our control, and our Clever. Now we need to look at the two coffees together. So let's slide them carefully together. I have to be careful with the regular cupping cup because all of the sediments and coffee is still at the bottom, where on the Clever brewed one, well, it's all gone because it's in the filter, right? So let's turn this light on, and as you can see, Can you see a little bit of difference? From my perspective, it looks, the cupping cup looks had to have a little bit, it looks less clear, so it has a little bit more sediment in it, which makes sense because, or compared to the Clever, which makes sense because the Clever has been run through a filter. All right, so that's a little bit cloudy. This is pretty clean. A little bit cloudy, pretty clean. Cloudy, clean. All right, we've got 10 minutes now have gone by already. Excellent, that's really fast. So let us start off with the control. We're going to take a sample and then slurp to coat the entire palate. You're just kind of spraying it into the palate, into the cavity of your mouth to coat your entire palate with the coffee. Rinse between spoons just to make sure there's no contamination. There's a slight astringency. There's also a bit of a slight heaviness, kind of like a slight grittiness from what would be the sediment in the coffee. It's pleasant. It's not off-putting, but it is there. You can tell the difference. You can tell that there is some slight, not grittiness, but like a slight tannic character to this coffee. As far as the texture, where this one, of course, that kind of like light tannic coarseness is not present in this cup with the Clever brew because of the filtration. Now, flavor-wise, we're still getting that milkiness. Overall, it's very clean. Both cups are clean, on the palate. It's kind of clean. It finishes clean. It finishes quick. It's not too, the aftertaste isn't very lingering. It kind of just drops off, but cleanly and very pleasantly. It's not a very floral coffee. It's more of a, I want to say milky, but not even milky. It has some sweetness. It's just very pleasant and very, and almost a little bit bright. So what we're going to do is we're going to let this cool a little bit, because one of the important things, especially with this coffee, because when I was cupping it originally years ago, the most amazing thing about this coffee was that as it cooled, it got sweeter and more milky, which is what really kind of made me think that this would be a great coffee for our iced coffee. So we're going to let this cool down a bit to kind of mimic that and see how it's performing. All right, it's been about 30 minutes, 27 and a half. So let's see how it's doing. The coffee has cooled down quite a bit. On the cupping side, the cupper side, there's that slight astringency is now really diminished. It's getting a lot more of these chocolatey tones, a lot more milky. The sweetness is enhanced. That's quite nice. Now we're going to do the Clever version. Ooh, even better. So in the cupping cup. So in the cupping cup, there is definitely strong notes of chocolate that's really developed. So kind of like a darker kind of chocolate with maybe a little bit of cherries or something like that. That's kind of coming out. A milky sweetness is really apparent. But there is some level, of course, of that tannic thing that I was talking about earlier is still there, because the sediment is still floating somewhat in the liquor, where the fully filtered Clever doesn't have that at all. So the sweetness, the chocolate, that kind of light cherry, the milkiness, it's really, really apparent. It's really crystal clear. It's really pretty, really beautiful, beautiful tasting coffee. Gosh, makes me kind of want to drink it. Yeah, so there it is. So SM Testa, the question was, how does the Clever, work as a cupping device? And actually, in this case, head-to-head, same parameters, same water, same everything, same time. I gotta say, it gives a better cup because of the filtration, So I guess maybe one of the questions some of you might be asking is like, well, if the Clever is giving you a much cleaner representation of the coffee, why not use something like that instead? And that's a good question, and we very well maybe should be. The difference is that, now you have to. So okay, here's the rundown. Like right now, you're watching me make these samples, and they're individual cups, so 1 cup of each. But in a critical cupping situation, so let's say we're out there in the world and we're looking to buy green coffee, typically the standard format of cupping coffee is that you're not just having 1 cup of 1 sample of the coffee. You're actually going to have a minimum of 5. So you'll have 5 separate cups. They'll all be lined up like this, and you're tasting each one individually. And why do we do that? Because what we're looking for is not just to understand the flavor and the characteristics of the coffee, but also to understand, is there consistency to the coffee? Because 1 13-gram sample, you don't really want to rely upon 1 13-gram sample to be indicative of maybe even a container load or more. And a container load is 40,000 some pounds of coffee, 275 bags. So you want to have, typically we will have 5 samples and to taste each one. And so they should be uniform, right? So each flavor or each experience in each cup across the 5 we're expecting that to be uniform. But maybe this one has a problem. And so that will give us some indication as to potential problems or whatever about the coffee. It's a little bit more complicated than that. And so to do that with so many of these might be a little bit too cantankerous. But just as a strict head-to-head comparison between a cupping cup and the Clever, I gotta say the Clever delivers a better drinking experience. So it's cleaner. It's much more representative of the flavors without any kind of, from the sediment. I don't know what this is what it kind of is pushing down on your palate a little bit, right? It's kind of occluding a little bit of the experience. And so that's what I mean by this, right? All right, I guess that's it for this week, the Clever. Great choice for the home. Easy to use. As you can see, we did that earlier. That's it for today. If you have any questions, comments, put them down below. Like the video. Subscribe. Hit the bell if you subscribe. We'd like to have you. The subscription is really, subscribe and, and all that link and share with your friends. That's really what we need you to do. Share with your friends. What else is there to say? If you're interested in trying this coffee, the Perla Negra, we do have it on our web store, which is sprocoffee.com. And that we sell, we even have that on a subscription basis. So a lot of our coffees now you can get on a subscription basis, and you get 10% off when you subscribe. It's all in there. If you email us, I'm probably going to respond to you anyway. But yeah, so you get on a subscription. You can run it as long or as little as you'd like it to be. It's a weekly thing, and you can put as many coffees together as you'd like, and we'll send that out to you on the schedule that you decide. So that being said, there's yeah, that's it. We don't do any Patreons or anything like that. So all we do is sell coffee. So come to visit us at our shops in Hamden or on the web. So buy our coffee. We'd love to sell you some. We'd love for you to enjoy it. We'd love to hear back your feedback on it to see what you think. But, well, that's it for this time. Look forward to seeing you next time. Thanks for tuning in.